OneNote screen is visible, right? You are able to see I'm writing something.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So DC to AC converters are technically called as inverters. Okay, so DC to AC converters are technically called as inverters. So inverters is not something which you are hearing for first time, because in practicals experiment number 4 is inverter. So we have a fair idea about what is that. Only thing is that we did not take anything in details. Okay. So now we need to understand that when it is DC to AC converters, naturally, the input is DC. Let me change the arrow now. So the input is DC and the output is AC. Sorry, output is AC. So we also know till now that when I say the term DC, it does not mean a pure DC. It can be any waveform which is having a non-zero average value. Similarly, when I say AC, it can be either a pure AC or any waveform which is having a non-zero RMS. So we can write a point that DC can mean so now wait for I write this point. The question comes is, when I say that the input is DC, is it a voltage or current? When I say output is AC, it can be voltage or current. Okay, fine. Now, when I mean DC, it can either mean a pure DC voltage or current that is constant, or it can also mean a waveform having non-zero average content. So in case of an inverter, which of the two are to be considered? The answer is we are supposed to consider pure DC voltage or current as an input. Okay, yeah. Similarly, when I say AC, it can mean pure AC voltage or current, and it can also mean a waveform having non-zero RMS content. So out of these two forms of AC, which I am supposed to get, answer is this thing. Okay, so we are not having a non-zero average content as an input, and we are not having a pure AC voltage or current as an output. Got the point? So one more point here is, if my input is a voltage, it is called as a VSI inverter, that is voltage source inverter. Okay, it is called as or VSI. And if my input is a current. It is called as current source inverter, CSI. Okay, so you can highlight this. Input is a pure DC voltage or current, and output is a waveform having non-zero RMS content. Yeah. So here, chat classification of inverters. Yeah. So one more point is here that since the output is AC, output is AC, we are interested only in the RMS content of the VL waveform, that is VL RMS. That is why whenever we want to measure the output voltage of an inverter, we are going to connect an AC voltmeter at the output. So we will also mention that. Hence, to measure the output voltage or current of an inverter, we shall use AC voltmeter or AC ammeter. Specifically, I am mentioning because if you perform the simulation of an inverter, you are going to use an RMS calculator, not an average calculator at the output across the load. Okay. So now classification of inverters. So inverters can be classified based on many different criterions, which I will mention here. So at least there are 5 criterions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First criterion is nature of input. So if it is a DC voltage, it is called as a VSI. If it is a DC current, it is called as CSI, already mentioned. Second criterion is number of phases in output. So if you have just a one phase in the output, it is called as single phase inverters. If you have 3 phases, that is RYB, it is called as a 3-phase inverter. Okay. Third criterion is nature of output waveform. So the third criterion is nature of output waveform. Specifically, we are mentioning about load voltage waveform. So we have square wave as one of the types. Second, we can have a Cauchy square wave as the output. I can have even the sine wave, and fourth is, yeah, so I will put sine as the last one. Third is the output can have a PWM nature, and fourth can be sine. Okay, so this is the ideal load voltage waveform which we are expecting, because in the original form AC is actually sine. So Cauchy square wave, PWM and sine. So in the syllabus we are not having sine wave inverters, but we are having square, Cauchy and PWM. And what are the advantages and disadvantages of each of them, we can always discuss later. Fourth criterion is the power devices used. Okay. So in this, we have transistorized inverters and thyristorized. And in transistorized inverters means those which use power BJT as a switch, or which can use a power MOSFET as a switch. It can use IGBT as a switch, or it can use static induction transistor as a switch. The second category is thyristorized. Thyristorized inverters can use SCRs, or they can use GTOs, gate turn off thyristors, or they can use static induction thyristors. Okay, so as basically SCRs are low frequency devices. They are actually manufactured for operating at 50 or 60 hertz, but there's a special category of SCRs which are designed for inverter operation. They are called as inverter grade SCRs. So I will write down one comment here: inverter grade SCRs. Okay, so make a note here that SCRs used in converters are called converter grade designed to operate at line frequencies and the fifth criterion is the topology. So we have bridge inverters and we have push-pull inverters in this. So And here we have half bridge. Second category is push pull. Okay, so now what I will do is that I will highlight amongst all of these which are there in syllabus. So whichever I highlight using green color, that is in the syllabus. Okay, blue color. Okay, fine. So in the syllabus, in the first criterion, we have only VSIs, we don't have CSIs. Here in the syllabus, we have square wave, we have Cauchy square wave, and we have PWM. In the second criterion, we have both single phase and three phase inverters to study. Here in the topology, we have only full bridge inverters to study, not half bridge, because full bridge contains 4 devices, half bridge contains 2 devices. We don't have push pull. Amongst power devices used, we are not going to discuss thyristorized inverters. We're going to discuss only transistorized. In that, we'll discuss power BJT or power MOSFET, maybe IGBT, anything. Getting me, because all of them are control turn on, control turn off device. That means the signal which is used to fire these devices or turn them on, the same signal when removed, these devices become off or commutative. So we are not going to discuss about thyristorize, because I already told that if SCR is supposed to be used in an inverter circuit, because input is a constant DC voltage or a current, commutation from the source side is not possible. So because line commutation or natural commutation, not line because there is no line at the input, line basically means mains basically means 50 hertz or 60 hertz supply. So in inverters, the input is a constant DC voltage or current. So natural commutation is not possible in SCR circuits, in SCR devices. So we need a special circuit called as commutation circuit. So because force commutation becomes an inseparable part if SCRs are used as power switches in inverters. So SCRs are preferred only in inverters when the output power is very high. So SCRs are preferred in inverter circuits only for high frequency operation. Yeah, so make a note here that since natural commutation is not possible inverter circuit, due to input being a constant voltage or current, SCR is not preferred as a power switch except applications where very high power is to be handled. Okay, yeah, so directly we switch to bridge inverters, specifically full bridge inverters, because it is in the syllabus. So let us make a point here that the predecessor of full bridge inverter is a half bridge inverter which uses two power switches. To generate a load voltage waveform which toggles between plus V by 2 and minus V by 2 volts. Okay, the predecessor of a full bridge inverter is a half bridge inverter which uses two power switches to generate a VL waveform which toggles between plus V by 2 and minus V by 2 volts at a frequency f which is equal to 1 over t hertz with 50% duty cycle. Students, you are in third year, you will clearly come to know that a waveform which goes equally above and below x-axis and has a duty cycle of 50% is a square wave. That means the predecessor of full bridge inverter is basically a square wave inverter. Okay, so which toggles between plus V by 2 and minus V by 2 volts at a frequency f with 50% duty cycle. In other words, that is, it has, that is, VL waveform is a square wave. Okay, so we should know that who came before a full bridge inverter. So now, having defined half bridge inverter, we have to define a full bridge inverter. Okay, so we can abbreviate full bridge inverter as FBI. Okay, and it is a single phase. Okay, so fine, one more point is to be written here. So HBI, half bridge inverter, HBI has a single output waveform, has a single VL waveform, hence it is a single phase inverter. If you remember that the first classification, the second classification, third classification, not first, third, second classification here is number of phases in output. If the output has only one load voltage waveform, it is called a single phase inverter. If the output has three voltage waveforms separated by 120 degrees, it is called as three phase. So because the half bridge inverter has only single voltage waveform as output, it is called single phase inverter. Now let us define what is a full bridge inverter. Full bridge inverter, unlike half bridge inverter, uses 4 power switches in the bridge configuration generates a single load voltage waveform at frequency f equal to 1 by t hertz, which toggles between plus V and minus V volts with 50% duty cycle, that is square wave. Okay. HBI has single voltage waveform, it is single phase inverter. FBI uses 4 power switches in bridge configuration, generates a single VL waveform at a frequency f is equal to 1 by t hertz, toggles between plus V and minus V volts with 50% duty cycle, hence a square wave output. Okay, very simple. Let us directly draw the circuit diagram here. Circuit diagram will contain what all things? DC voltage of V volt as input, 4 power switches. Let us assume that we are going to use power BJT here, 4 power switches, and third will be load. So load can be either R, it can be RL, or it can be RLEB. So in the syllabus, we are supposed to only study operation with R load and RL load, not for RLEB load. Okay. And we are assuming that control circuit is present. Okay. We're not drawing control circuit. Assuming Okay. Yeah. So as our regular practice in any power system or a transformer, to the left first we draw the input, to the right we draw the load, and in between both of them we draw the power circuit. That is what I'm going to do now also. Purposefully, I am drawing more number of plates in the battery to indicate that the input to an inverter is usually a DC voltage which is not 10 or 15 volts, but it is 100 volts, 150 or 200 volts. So plus or minus V. In here I am having my load. Right, LOAD. Okay, now I'm going to draw in a bridge. So you know, if you remember what is a bridge, a single phase bridge has 4 devices, 3-phase bridge has 6 devices. So if you remember, my first switch will be like this, my second switch will be like this, my third switch will be like this, my fourth switch will be like this. And student, there is a small change, is that we have seen bridges in converters also, but we do not draw the load line. So there is a intentionally I have drawn the load here to remind you that in converters load is drawn like this vertically, but in inverters it is drawn horizontally. So load does not come here, load comes in between. Okay, so it comes in between. This is our load. Okay, students understand, this particular node is called as A and this particular node is called as B, and the load voltage VO or VL is equal to VAB, that is the potential difference between nodes A and B. And we complete the circuit like this and like this. Okay, students, so this is my switch S1, this is my switch S2, this is my switch S3, and this is my switch S4. Okay, understand students that S1 and S2 always conduct together and S3 and S4 always conduct together. So just like in a normal bridge configuration, diagonally opposite devices conduct together. Similarly, in even inverter bridges, diagonally opposite devices conduct together. Only difference between the bridge configuration in converters and inverters is that the placement of the load. So while the load is placed vertically in case of converters, it is placed horizontally in case of inverters. Otherwise, everything else remains the same. Okay, and if the load is inductive in nature, we have to connect freewheeling diodes. So in case of inductive loads, what I will do is I will connect a diode like this across S1. Similarly, I will connect another diode across S3 like this. Similarly, I will connect a diode like this across S4. Similarly, I will connect another diode like this across S2. Otherwise, everything remains the same. So now if I replace S1, S2, S3, S4 with SCRs, it becomes an example of thyristorized inverter. On the other hand, if I replace S1, S2, S3, S4 by either power BJTs or power MOSFETs or IGBTs or static induction transistors, the same circuit becomes an example of transistorized inverters. If my load is purely resistive, I don't need the 4 diodes D1, D2, D3 and D4. So D1, D2, D3 and D4 are not required if my load is purely resistive, but I do require them if my load is either RL load or RL-EB load. Okay, so now this is a generic full bridge inverter circuit for both resistive and inductive loads. Now we are going to draw the circuit which is specific to transistorized inverters for R load and using power BJTs. Okay, so I can say circuit diagram as it is a generic full bridge inverter for R, RL and RL EB load. Generic full bridge inverter for R, RL and RL EB load. Okay. So now let us be very specific. Single phase voltage source inverter transistorized full bridge inverter with R load. Okay, so all the important attributes are there. The output is a single voltage waveform, so single phase. Input is a DC voltage, so voltage source inverters. I am going to use power BJT, so transistorized. I am going to use 4 power BJT, so full bridge inverter, and my load is purely resistive. Okay, let us draw it now. The control terminals for all 4 transistors. Complete the circuit. The node A, the load resistor, the node B. Okay, A, B, RL. Transistor Q1, transistor Q2, transistor Q3, transistor Q4. I am denoting currents at the base terminals to indicate that the control circuit has to produce a current. So IB1, IB2, IB3, IB4. These are the outputs of control circuit. Similarly, input is V. Okay, as usual, Q1 and Q2 with same colors indicating they are supposed to conduct together. Q3 and Q4 again with same colors. Okay, that means what? Again, IB1 and IB2 should be applied simultaneously. Similarly, IB3 and IB4 should be applied simultaneously. Okay, now students understand that we want an output load voltage waveform which is having a frequency f equal to 1 over t, and it is a square wave. That means what? The output will be equal to plus V for half of the time and the output equal to minus V for another half the time. So we have to write down the technical specifications of load voltage waveform. So we can write down that the load voltage waveform has the following specs. Okay, the first spec is VL of T is equal to plus V for T greater than equal to 0, less than equal to T by 2. The next specification is the load voltage waveform as a function of time is equal to minus V for all T greater than T by 2, less than equal to T. Fine. So now third is this. Okay. So now students, from 0 to t by 2, for 0 to t by 2. So yeah, third thing is that here the convention is like this. The point A is referred with respect to B. So the convention is like this. VL of t. So I can say safely that VL of t is equal to VAB of t is equal to the potential difference at A minus potential difference at B. Now students, if I want VAB equal to plus V, okay, remember, if I want VAB equal to plus V, that means A should get connected here and B should get connected here. Okay, so if the point A gets connected here and the point B, how do I connect it now? And if point B has to get connected here, for this thing what I have to do is that A has to be pulled up. So the point A has to be pulled up to this point and B has to be pulled down to this point. This is possible if Q1 and Q2 conduct simultaneously. Similarly, if I want VAB equal to negative, what I need to do is that my point B, my point B has to be connected here and my point A has to be connected here. So this is possible if Q3 and Q4 conduct simultaneously. Okay. So here analysis is for VL of t equal to plus V equal to VAB. Q1, Q2 must conduct simultaneously. For VL of t equal to minus V equal to VAB, Q3 and Q4 must conduct simultaneously. Okay. Another important thing is this. Yeah. So all these points will help us make the waveforms in less than 5 minutes. The base drives, that is the current drives for Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4, they are as follows. Okay. IB1, IB2 are high for t greater than equal to 0 less than t by 2, and the base drives IB3 and IB4 are high for t greater than t by 2 less than equal to capital T. And another point is that IB1, IB2 are low for t greater than t by 2 less than equal to t. IB3, IB4 are low for all t greater than equal to 0 less than t by 2. Okay. Next important thing is, what about load current? The load current waveform is a scaled down version is also a square wave and scale down version of VL of t. Okay, that is IL of t is VL of t upon RL. Okay, so now let us start making the waveforms. This is V in of t. These are the base drives, IB1, IB2. Just see how I'm drawing all the waveforms. This is the second set, IB3, IB4. This is my load voltage, VL of t, and this is my load current, that is IL of t. Understand one thing, the main difference is in inverter, because the output frequency is not same as line frequency. On the horizontal axis, we do not write down omega of t, we write only t here. Okay. Okay, let us now mark all the important intervals. Though like in converter systems, we have 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and then we have alpha, pi plus alpha, 2 pi plus alpha. Similarly, here we have 0, t by 2, t, 3 t by 2. So 0, 0.5 t, t, 1.5 t, 2, 2.5 t, similar like that. Okay, so we'll draw only 1.5 cycles. So it is 0, t by 2, t, 3t by 2. Okay, if you want, we can write it above. 0, t by 2, t, 3t by 2, and we'll have 2t there. Let us vertically project everything. Input is equal to V, so it is a horizontal line. Valued at V volts. V. Now, as I told you that IB1, IB2, so Q1 and Q2 are supposed to remain on. So Q1 and Q2 supposed to remain on from 0 to t by 2 and off from t by 2 to t. So IB1 and IB2 will exist from 0 to T by 2 and not exist from T by 2 to T. Similarly, for obtaining the load voltage equal to minus V in the interval T by 2 to T, Q3, Q4 should be on. So IB3, IB4 will be existing from T by 2 to T and not from 0 to T. So IB1, IB2 are high from 0 to T by 2 and they are low from T by 2 to T. So because we want to keep Q1 and Q2 off, that is why it is like this. Again, from T to T by 2, 3T by 2 it will be on. Okay. Similarly, IB3, IB4, they will be 0 from 0 to T by 2. They will exist from T by 2 to T like this. Okay. What about VL of T? From 0 to T by 2, it will be plus V. Let us mark now. This is plus V. This is minus V. So 0 T by 2 and T. So 0 to T by 2 it is plus V, and from T by 2 to T it is minus V. And load current will be a scaled down version. So we have to have two markers here, 1 and 1. This will be equal to plus V by R L, and this will be equal to minus V by RL. Okay, let us also draw the two levels. Load current waveform, it exactly follows the load voltage waveform. Only thing is that its limits are different. Okay, so I want to mention here that the peak to peak voltage in the load side is equal to 2V, and for the current it is 2V by RL. Okay, so we can make a mention here. Okay, what about the frequency? This is the time period. T, which is equal to 1 over F. So we can see here that V load peak to peak equal to 2 V volts. The load current peak to peak is equal to 2 into V by RL amps. Now students, if we perform the RMS, now as we told that we are not interested in the average content. It's very clear if we carefully observe the load voltage waveform over one cycle, that is 0 to T, we see that it is symmetrical about the x-axis. So VL average is 0. Okay, and it is expected. We can just say here that since the VL and IL waveforms are symmetrical about the x-axis over one cycle, that is 0 to T, the average content is 0. So we can say that VL AVG equal to 0, IL AVG equal to 0. So students, both this and this is expected. Why? Because we are considering DC to AC conversion. And if you perform an RMS analysis, then students, we can write down safely that RMS analysis of VL waveform, it gives VL RMS equal to V volt. Okay, I have not written plus or minus V because RMS value is always positive. This is an important result. Okay. So tomorrow, most probably I am having an extra lecture. I am keeping an extra lecture. Time I will convey, and I want to start off with inverters using inverter operation with RL load, which is very important. So see, it's very clear. Wait, I'll stop the recording.